Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Utah Beer News for the latest in our one-on-one conversations with local brewers, breweries, and everyday imbibers. I'm Tim Herron, founder of Utah Beer News, and my guest today is the one and only Kevin Templin, founder and head brewer at Templin Family Brewing in Salt Lake City. Welcome, Kevin.
Timmy, I made it. I must have won the lottery. Here we go.
You made it. This is the big time. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to talk with Utah Beer News. Kevin's been kind enough to join us today to talk not only about his beer and the brewery, but also to just discuss a little bit about German Beer Day and German beers in general, since he's some of an expert on that topic. But before we dive in, if other brewers or brewery representatives are interested in participating in an upcoming virtual taproom episode, feel free to get in touch with me, Tim at utahbeernews.com, and we can get that scheduled. Okay, Kevin Templin, a first ballot Utah Craft Beer Hall of Famer for sure. Can we start by having you give viewers and listeners just a brief overview of your brewing history?
Oh, we started in the mid 90s at Desert Edge, and then in between the late 90s and early 2000s, well, we kind of helped get a couple breweries going. It was Trax Brewing out in Tooele, and then there was a brewery at the bottom of Big Cottonwood called Rivers, and we did some contract brewing at both of those things and started in 2000 at Red Rock and left in 2018.
Awesome. Yeah,
And then
2018,
yeah,
October.
and then we started up our own little thing here.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous tap room. 15 barrel brew house. Is that what it is?
15-barrel brew house. We can
Barrel.
cast out 18, 19 barrels, but yeah, it's a 15-barrel DME system.
Nice. Awesome patio,
Yeah,
stunning glassware, and delicious beer, of course. First
thanks.
rate
I
all the way.
appreciate it.
Yeah, what's been the most rewarding aspect of owning your own brewery? You had to pick one thing.
Just being able to do what we want to do and take care of the employees the way we want to take care of them, and basically make the beer and the quality that we want it to be without hurrying or trying to meet barrel demands and stuff like that.
Right, right. Yeah, and when we met prior to your opening in October of 2018, you had told me just how many people had helped in making Templin Family Brewing a reality and explaining that they were all part of this circle. And can you explain just or describe a little bit that notion of family and how it influences the different aspects of brewing?
Well, for a long time, I mean, we had good family friends that always wanted to help us get our own thing going. Most of them are hockey oriented family that we travel with all over the country. Obviously, everybody knows my son plays hockey. And then one day we had a couple serious conversations while we were floating around Lake Powell. And about a month later, we had some families come forward, and out came a little bit of money, and the ball started rolling. And that's really what it comes down to is it's not just me and my wife and my kids. And my dad comes down here, my brother works here, my kids do, come when they can.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's the orientation, I guess, of like families say that everybody helped us get this going, and we want to take care of everybody that helped us get this going.
Right.
Um, and I think that's a kind of the circle of the family oriented kind of breweries. I appreciate them.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a lot, definitely, to get something up and running like that and really turned it into something spectacular.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great place to drink a beer for sure. And we're going to talk a little bit about the beers because April 23rd is German Beer Day. And I really wanted to have you on this week to talk about German beer since you know a thing or two about German beers and you're of German descent, right? You've traveled to Germany multiple times. You've received brewing education from the best of the best. And like many who strike out on their own, you said when you opened that you're going to make what you like to drink. And so, what is it about German beers, lagers specifically, I would imagine, that give them such a special place in your heart?
Well, they're just so, they're, I was explained quite a few times that ale is ale, but beer is lager beer. And so we like to drink, lager beers are widely consumed, obviously, all over the world. People like to drink them. To me, they're super difficult to make correctly. I still don't think that we're making them as good as we will make them one day. But that comes with a lot of technology too, and you can't have every bell and whistle when you got 4 buildings and 20 employees, and you're trying to keep up, you know. And so, as we go down the road, our technology is going to advance, and that will advance the lager beer brewing all the way from everything from milling to lagering all the way down the road. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like, everybody says, well, if I was just going to make beer that I want to drink, it would just be Pilsner and Helles, and that's how we drink, maybe some Weiss beer, but,
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate a good IPA, and I know a lot of people appreciate hazies, and they appreciate fruited beers and sour beers, and so it's not just for me, and that's, I want to give the family what they want.
Yeah.
Obviously, sour beers are our second or third best selling draft beer all the time. And so obviously some people do enjoy them a lot.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, right now I'm drinking from day one. This has been my favorite of yours. It's the Granary Killer beer. Um, just a phenomenal beer. I like uh,
I've
clean,
always
crisp.
enjoyed that beer.
It's sweet, like slightly sweet cereal type notes with a little breadiness. It's just really good. Can you provide some insight into kind of what went into brewing? Because this was one of your original brews, right? That you opened the doors with.
Yeah. I mean, we don't filter anything down here. So we just try to let natural time flocculate the beer out.
Oh,
And obviously everybody knows we worked at Red Rock for a long time, and there's Wickle beers is one of my favorite beers still. And but it's hard to make a beer and fall in love with it and trim it for 15 years and then try to go and make the same kind of style but with different ingredients, and that's pretty much what we had to do with all of our lager beers.
uh-huh.
So obviously everybody knows all the German hops, German malt, yeast obviously it comes from a bank, but it's German in orientation, I guess you
Sure.
could
Yeah.
say.
Hmm.
We have several different lager strains we use for different brands that we make. But Keller beer is it's the root, it's the purest of everything. I think there's only, a very minimal malt charge in it. It's very low ABV. It's got a low original, it's got a low final. It's spun off. It's naturally carbonated up to the 2.5 plus range. If we need a trim after lagering, we can, but usually we can just put it right on draft and we're in range
Yeah.
with our CO2 and stuff. So foam is very important, and a lot of that good foam retention comes from
Yeah.
spunding. So
Right. Yeah. And I had poured this a little while ago, but the foam. And when you pour the draft, the tap room too, it's just awesome thing to watch. You see all the bubbles
yeah, well, foam's
racing
important.
up.
Foam's important. Yeah, to me, it's presentation of the beer, and the foam is it's a huge part of it. It's a
Yeah.
huge part of it. All of our bartenders get trained. We have glassware that we got made just for ourselves. Everything's got nucleation points in it. It's all Somm glassware. It all comes from Germany. So the Pilsner goes into Pilsner glass. Helles has got its own glass. They each have their own kind of faucets they're poured out of. Weiss beer's got its own. IPA has its own, stuff like that. So
Yeah. Awesome. First
it
class for
costs a
sure.
lot of money. A lot of people think it's foolish, but I don't think it's foolish, because if it takes 8 weeks to make a Helles, and then you put it in just with
Yeah.
the same glass as everything else, it's just, I think it just adds a lot to the whole presentation of the product.
Yeah. For sure. And speaking of Hellas, I was fortunate to visit Munich and Bamberg a couple years ago, and before my trip, you were nice enough to kind of give me a crash course on German breweries and German beers and what I should drink and where I should go. It was a phenomenal trip. Can you, just as we get ready to wrap up here, talk a little bit about the German beer culture, and then as you're trying to bring that probably into Salt Lake City a little bit, and then is there a
Yeah, I think
brewery or two that you absolutely love in Germany?
Oh, well, if I fly into Munich today, I'm definitely going right to the Augustiner or Braustubel. That's the first place I'll go.
Yeah.
It's really close to the airport. It's right there. Obviously, if we're in Bamberg, we like to drink at Fessler. And across the street is a Special, and around the corner is Schlenkerla. So, we go smoke beer, Helles, smoke beer, Helles. And those are definitely our favorite places to drink by a long shot. And I think we talk about German culture and stuff like that. It's we don't need people wearing lederhosen every day, maybe one day a year when we have our big party, but it's more about communal experience. So people sit together. We have tables at pre-COVID, obviously, but we're pulling out of that. I like people to sit together and talk and sit down next to strangers and have snacks and fresh
Yeah.
pretzels and maybe put down your phone for a minute and you might meet somebody new. And I think that goes back to the whole family thing too. So if we're sitting together, you might meet somebody you don't know, and we kind of force people to be human. I think,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That gets back to the roots for sure. Yeah. Sitting down at a communal table and talking to people about beer or about whatever life in general that you don't know, and making new friends. It's a great atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so we're scheduled to meet in person next month to record a formal Utah Beer News podcast episode where we're going to go into much more detail on you, Kevin, the brewery, the beers, and everything. But to wrap up this virtual tap room episode, what should beer drinkers be on the lookout for from TF in the next little while? I know you just had a beer release this week. Anything else that is going on there that people
Well, we
should
got
know about?
we have some fun beers coming, new canned fun beers coming up. We obviously have more Italian Pilsners, the Adriatic Pilsner coming up. It's lagering. Obviously, we have more Edel Pils coming up, which is a new lager beer that we've been making with it's more of a noble whole leaf lager beer. It's made with Heidelberg Pilsner malt and stuff like that. So
Cool.
those are coming out. But like next week, we're canning a chamomile wit beer. We have a hazy coming out Friday and stuff like that. So we try to throw those out, but we don't make as much of that beer as we do lager beers, because we always want to have lager beer in draft. But we will also be popping in these fun one-timers that come out.
Yeah.
They don't last long, but that's flattering at the same time.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Kevin, for joining me at the Utah Beer News virtual tap room.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
One of the early adopters here. So
yeah, thanks for what you're doing for the craft brewing community too. I know a lot of people appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, I have a good time doing it, and appreciate brewers like you taking the time to chat with us about Utah Beer News. Before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone that Utah Beer News sends out a virtual e-newsletter. A monthly e-newsletter jam-packed with news and notes from around the craft beer scene. It's currently delivered to hundreds of craft beer enthusiasts on the first Thursday of each month. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do so by going to utahbeernews.com/subscribe. And as I mentioned, I'm getting Kevin Templin on the Utah Beer News podcast in a little while. So if you prefer to listen to your beer news, I invite you to check out the Utah Beer News podcast. It began in 2018, and we recently surpassed about 50 episodes. These are more in-depth interviews with the brewers and breweries who make Utah craft beer what it is today. So excited to talk to Kevin more about his craft in an upcoming episode. Thank you again for watching, listening, and reading. If you know of a story that should be told to the Utah Beer News audience, please fill out the contact form on utahbeernews.com/contact, or feel free to email me directly. And I'd like to just one more time thank you, Kevin Templin, the founder and head brewer at TF Brewing in Salt Lake City, for taking the time to join us on the virtual tap room. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Timmy. Appreciate it.